So I know you all must be having very high expectation from this session. So let me tell you what we will learn today. First of all, what is JavaScript? Why exactly do we use this? And where do we use this? Second, we will write some basic codes in JavaScript. You will learn variables in JavaScript, data types in JavaScript, conditional statements, and so on. Then we will move toward the functions and loops in JavaScript. Then the part which beginners fear a lot, that is DOM manipulation. But believe me, will teach you in such a way that you will like it. And this is the most exciting part of using JavaScript, that is DOM manipulation. Also, if you had attended the COPS orientation session, we said there that we don't believe in just theoretical stuff. Instead, we believe in learning by teaching. So we will covering this session totally hands-on. You will be doing coding with us, and at the end of the session, you will be have your first front-end project ready, and second project you will get as homework as a task. Okay. So what is JavaScript? So if you have ever heard of web development or even Google it, then you must know that web development consists of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. These three are not the only components of web development. Web development is far beyond this, but yeah, these are the building blocks. If you go and search the top most used or top popular programming languages, you will find JavaScript in top three. JavaScript is the main component of web. It not only helps you in making the front end using great frameworks like React.js, Vue.js, but it also helps you to make backend using Node.js, Express.js. If you're wondering what is front end and back end, so if I have to summarize in like two lines, then front end is what you see when you visit any website, like home section, about a section. If I have to give an example, then when you go to a website, you go to the login page, then the login page, the landing page of login page, this is front end. And when you enter your username, your password, it redirects you to your profile. So this all data gets confirmed from the backend. This is all stored in backend. Backend is server side, if we say in technical language. Also, if some of you is confused that I don't know Java, how can I learn JavaScript, or vice versa, I know Java, should I need to learn JavaScript? Then yes, JavaScript in no sense is related to Java. Both are totally different. There's a fun story why JavaScript is named JavaScript. Its name was something else earlier. So let me know in the chat box if some of you find the story behind the name nomenclature of JavaScript. Listen, Shubhangi, shout out to the first person who finds this out. Okay. Uh,
Yeah, right. So put in the name if you want to.
okay. So as I
Yeah,
said, JavaScript is
so
okay. Okay.
Tanmay actually said that they named it JavaScript.
Okay. Okay. Nice, Nanda. Okay. So JavaScript was invented by Brendan East in 1995. If some of you is curious, and as I said, JavaScript is used in a huge manner in a wide range for making web-based applications and far beyond that in software servers and hardware controls. Okay, okay. So now that we said we will do everything practically, so I want you guys to fork this repo. I will give the link in the chat box. Okay, yes, we just go ahead and fork this repo, clone it, and just put it on hold. We will use later in the session. You just have to open this programmer's compiler. We will use this programmer's compiler in the entire session to code. Okay. So you have two tasks. I'm giving you 1 minute to done this. Wait 1 minute. The first one is this repo, this project we will be making. This repo is originally a fork of Shubhangi's repo. So credits where is due. And this compiler you can open. Uh, I'm waiting. Let me know when you are done with this.
up in the chat once you're ready with the compiler in your browser. Just click on the link, copy, and just use the compiler.
Just fork
Uh,
and clone it like in your local environment and put it on hold. We will be using this in later on session. For now, we will be using this compiler. Okay.
be active. Done it. Let's just put a thumbs up in the chat box.
Okay, I'm seeing about 30 folks and people are in workshop are 170 plus. So
I mean,
try to be active. We will
if you
make
face
this
any problem
session
while forking, just
shortly.
press on the above the repo.
Huh. And if we
I guess they're
don't know the
done.
basics of Git, so
Hmm.
we have the playlist of Git ready. Shubhangi will give the link in the chat box. If you don't know the basics of Git, how to fork, how to clone.
I'll put the link in the chat box. Meanwhile, you can continue. I guess they're
Okay.
setting up the online.
Okay. So you must have written some code somewhere in C language, in C++ language, or in maybe in some other languages, or maybe not. Don't fear. We will be covering everything from scratch. As far as this session is concerned, all three of us is considering you don't know even a bit, even C of coding. We are covering totally everything from scratch. Okay. So to write JavaScript, you can use these four methods. Browser console. This is same as the programmist compiler, which I given you the link. Browser window. If you notice, sometime when you visit a website, a window pops up and it says the website says something. Like this website says www.canva.com says something. Okay, so that is browser window. That is done using JavaScript only. Then DOM manipulation and HTML output. This you will learn later on this session. Okay. 1 second. Before moving ahead, I want that we all should write our first program. I'm changing a tab. Is my compiler visible to everyone?
Branch it is visible.
Okay, sure. So to write something in JavaScript, we have, or to be concerned to write something on console, we have to use console.log. Console is where we write the output. We have a debug our JavaScript. Okay, so don't go there. Just console.log and just like programmer's favorite first program. Hello world. I will be explaining what I have just done. First, I will run this. Okay. So we have here we get the output as hello world. I'm increasing the font size a bit. I hope not now it is visible. Okay. So we just wrote hello world. A fun question I want to ask you all: which was the first program you all wrote, and in which language you all wrote that? The first program and language you used, or the JavaScript program was your first program of your life? Hello world, C++, Python, C. Okay. Java. Cool. Almost everyone hello world. Ankit Verma wrote hello world. Okay. That's cool. Cool. So what we just did, console.log, we use that to print out output. Okay. So this is the syntax of JavaScript. Then we use parenthesis. In the parenthesis declares like we have to write some value or some string or some number inside it. So we use this parenthesis. Okay. Then to write a string in JavaScript, what is a string? A string is a collection of characters. We can say as a sentence. Okay. Hello world is a string. So to write a string, we use double quotes. In JavaScript, you can use double quotes or single quotes, both to write a string. Okay. There is no such issue like C or C++ for characters. You have to use single quote. For string, you have to use double quotes. No, you can use both. Okay. What the difference? Like if I say I'm using single quote to use this, single quote to do this, and I run this, I'm still getting the output hello world. So when what is the use of using both? So let's say you have to write something like this. Okay. Hmm. 1 second. Try to code along with me, then only you can learn fast. Okay. Something like Uncle's desktop. So cool. Okay. So if you note here, we used a quote, single quote to note anchors. Okay. So when we did this, we used double quotes to denote a string because this single quote we have used in anchors. Okay. So this is the difference where we can use double quotes and single quotes. This was about strings. What if we have to write uh, a number? Then we don't have to use double quotes or single quotes. We can use directly, like we have to output a number, let's say 5. So console.log 5. Okay. Till then, try writing on compiler a string and a number. Okay. Then we moving forward. So what you just did, you all just wrote your first program. Okay. So let's move ahead to the next slide. So after writing hello world, like most programmers write, the next program is addition of two numbers, right? So to add two numbers, what do we do? To add two numbers, what do? We just take two numbers as input. So we have to store it somewhere, right? So then we use what? JavaScript variables. Yeah, you must all have learned variables in your mathematics during your J time. I hope your J memories are still fresh, at least in variables. So, okay, I will go slow. Okay. uh, So I was saying you all must be knowing the definition of variable. So let me know in the chat what according to is a variable. If your J memories, your school time memories are still fresh. Which can name that store. Unname. Okay. Something. Okay. We can say that. So variable is something which we declare, which is user completely a user choice. Okay. Variable is a user choice. We can declare it on ourselves, and we can use them to store values. Cool. So as you must be seeing on slides, that variables in JavaScript are of three types, but it's actually of four types. The three which are seeing on slide: var, let, and const. What is the difference between all three of them? I will tell. Okay. And the fourth one is like using directly. Like if I say var x equals to 5, this is also valid. And if I declare x equals to 5, this is also valid. Okay. How to name a variables? We, the name of a variable can start with letters, okay, or a dollar sign or underscore. They cannot begin with digits, right? So for better explanation, I will move towards the compiler. I hope my compiler is visible. I will go slow as requested. Okay. So let's say we have to declare variable var x equals to 5. We what we did, we made a variable x, we assigned a value 5 to it. Okay, now we have to give the output on our console. So what will we do? Console.log x. 5 is printed on the compiler. Okay. What if we change value? So with var we can change the values. Like earlier value was 5, we can do var x equals to 10. And now if we do console.log x, so if you note the output, we get first output as 5 and second as 10. Why so? Because first we assign the value 5 to x and then we change it to 10. Okay. So this was all about var. Uh, any of you facing any confusion till now, you can put in the chat box. Shubhangi and Ankur will try to cover this, and if not, if something is common doubt, I will clear it for in the session only.
Yes, yes, Divyansh, you're actually covering those.
Okay. So this is all about when we declare a variable with a number. Let's say we have to store a string cops into a variable. Yeah. So what I have to write after x? Var x equals to what I have to write. Just put in the chat box. What should I write? Okay. Bahut Purana, very good. String cops. Okay. So to write a string, we can write in double quotes or single quotes. Since I am from the C++ background, so I use double quote for a string and single quote for characters. But you can use any of them. Acha, okay. We haven't out console.log x. It is cops. Okay. So just to don't get confused with different programming languages, you can use var, const, and let for all data types. Also, for numbers, you don't have to really use float and all. You can use var, let, and const for storing numbers too. Any type of number integers. Okay. So don't get confused with any other programming language. I'm reiterating on the word that we are assuming that you know nothing, even C in coding. Okay. So in let, what is the difference between var and let and const? Okay, so in var, if you were active, what we did, var x equals to 5, then we change the value var x equals to 10, and the value got changed. Okay, and the both time we declared var. Declaring a variable means writing something as var x equals to something. This is declaring variable. In let, you can't redeclare out. Okay, we can write let x equals to 10. We can write then x equals to 20, but we can't write let x or let x equals something. Okay, we can't do this. In const, we can't even reassign the values. Okay, like we can't write const x equals to 5, or const x equals to 5 x equals to 10. We can't just change the value, we'll just reassign the value. This is not valid in const. This was the basic difference between let, var, and const. Apart from that, var has a global scope and let in const has a block scope. Now, first question, what is global scope? What is block scope? Okay, so don't get overwhelmed by these terms. Once we will move toward the functions part, we will cover them. Okay, till now I hope you don't have any confusion in var, let, and const. Okay. As Ankur wrote, let is limited to a function. So when we will teach function, we will cover those topics. Okay. So I want you all to just go declare a variable of some value and print it out on console. Okay. Can you please explain let again? Okay. What I said, let in let you can't redeclare. Okay. Like in var, what we did, var x equals to 5, then we did var x equals to 10. This is invalid in let. You can just do let x equals to something, then x equals to something. Okay, you can't use let x equals to, you can't redeclare a new same variable again. No, you don't have to write var always when changing the values. You can do something like this, var x equals to 5, x equals to 10. Let's see what happens if we console log x. We get the output as 10. Why? Because on line number 3, if you notice, the value of x was 5, and on line number 4 it becomes 10. So when we print out the x, it takes the latest value of x. Okay, so this was 10. Hope this was clear. So back to slides, all about variables, what I just told. One thing I forgot in the nomenclature of variables, just a second. You can name a variable, जैसे x की जगह पे you can name x1 or you can name x2, but you cannot name 2x, okay, or var1x. This is invalid. The name must begin with either a letter or underscore or dollar sign. But in general practice, we use letters only and keep variable names as such that it increases the readability of function. It is the general practice we use. Like you all should know, name your variables as such that if others are reading your code, they should understand what purpose this variable is for. For example, if I have to store someone's age, I should name, not must, you can use something, I should name it as age equals to 18. So that someone else read my code, he gets, okay, this variable is storing someone's age. This is a good practice in programming, in any language, not in only in JavaScript. Okay, JavaScript variables. So operators in JavaScript. Now the question, भैया इतने सारे circles and circles देख के डर लग रहा है, क्या है operators? डरना नहीं, all chill. ठीक है, we will move toward the console. We will do everything hands on. You all will be doing along with me. Don't get confused with all this. So, as clear by the name, what are operators? Operators are the characters, or you can say the symbols, which operate on some values. Okay. So if I share my screen, first I will move toward the arithmetic operator. So I told few minutes earlier that after writing hello world, the next program we write is adding two numbers. So to add two number, till then what you have learned? You have learned basic syntax. Okay. You can output your program, you can store values in variables, but you have to add them, right? So let's say const x equals to 5, const y equals to 9. Okay, console dot log x plus y. So we get the output as 14. So uh, what we have learned till now, we have only applied those things. Okay, line number 3, we declared a variable whose value is 5. Line number 4, we declared a variable y whose value is 9. Line number 5, we print out the output of x plus y. So what is plus here? Plus is basically an arithmetic operator. You all must have learned arithmetic operators in math. Plus, minus, multiply, divide. These are all the arithmetic operators. This is all same in JavaScript too. Okay, you can use x minus y, you can use x divided by y, you can use x multiply by y. Similarly, as any normal calculator, there's nothing something specific to programming language, just normal calculator. So Amitak, we have used console.log x plus y and like const x equals 5, const y equals 9. We have print out const x plus y. But what if I say what should be my code if I want that this shouldn't be x plus y. We need a new variable which should store the value of x plus y, and we should output that variable. So how can we write the code of that? Let me know in the chat section. Should I repeat my question? Okay. Use const. Const it is like way better than var and let. Okay. The difference you will know in the functions what is let and const, why they are supreme to var. Yeah. Const z equals to x plus y and console dot log z. Const sum equals to okay. Both are valid. So as you all said, on z equals to x plus y, console.log of z. Let's just do this. Check if we're getting the same output. Yes, we are getting the same output. 5 plus 9 is 14, which I assume you all must be knowing. Okay. So plus, minus, multiply, divide. Apart from that, two operators are left out. One is this modulo operator. We can just modulo assign modulo operator. What this modulo operator does, it basically gives out the remainder of, like when x is divided by y, what will be the remainder. So let me just try it out. Instead of theory, let's just try it out. So we are getting the output 5. So how is the output 5? When you divide 5 by 9, the question will be what? 0. And what will be the remainder? 5. Okay. So we get this output with modulo operator, our remainder. Clear? The last operator in arithmetic operators is this sign. If I do x equals to 2, equals to, quick question, what is 2 to the power 7? Let's see whose math is fastest. 128. Okay, Sahil, very good.
Sahil
So
actually.
this double multiplication sign gives out the x raised to the power y, one number raised to the power other number. Let's just try it out if Sahil was correct or not. Okay, Sahil's J preparation was totally worth it. Okay, console dot. This was all about arithmetic operators. Next in the segment is what? Assignment operators. Clear by the name, assignment operator assigns a value. Okay, so while do you don't have to even learn assignment operators. You already have used assignment operators. Can someone tell me on which lines I have used assignment operators in my compiler? Line numbers 3, 4, 5, 3, 4,
Yes,
5. Cool, cool,
yes,
cool.
answered it first. 3, 4, 5.
Okay, okay, yes, cool. So this equal to sign here is an assignment operator. Okay, what assignment operator does, it assigns a value to a variable. Okay, so on line number third, what is happening? The value 2 is getting stored in x, or in other language, 2 is getting assigned to x. On line number 4, on line 4, 7 is getting assigned to y. On line number 5, x to the power y is getting assigned to z. Okay, so apart from this equal to sign, there's one more assignment operator. Like if we have to update the value of x, okay, if you have to update the value of x, let's say x value is 5, that update it to 10. So what we can do is x equals to 10, or in another language, x equals to x plus 5. Okay, we have to increment it by 5. We can use something like this. So apart from writing x equals to x plus 5, you can write the shortcut x plus equals to 5. And if I do console dot log x, you can get the output as 10 or 15. What will be the output? Okay, so the output we are getting is 15. Okay, so on line number 4, we are increasing value of x equals to x plus 5, and on line 5 we are again increasing by plus equal to method, which means the same. So this x plus equals to 5 means x equals to x plus 5. Similarly, we have x minus equals to 5. Okay, we have x multiply equal to 5, x divided by equal to 5, everything. And this is the replication of x equals to x operator something, plus, minus, divide, multiply. Okay, one more thing I forgot to tell you, if you're wondering this semicolon is necessary or not. So in JavaScript, this semicolon is not necessary, but is a good practice to use semicolon. What it does, it basically separate out the statement. So while debugging where your code is getting failing, you can really check which line is getting failed. Okay, by separating it out. This is very much similar to yeah. This is very a good saying in programming languages. If you know one programming language, you can just switch to other. Okay, not similar to Java. There are differences, but yeah, you can switch to other very quickly. So this was about assignment operators. Okay, now comparison operators. Let's say const x equals to 5, const y equals to 10. Okay, console dot log x equals y. I will tell you what I have written once I run it. Okay, we are getting the output is false. So why are we getting the output as false? Because basically what we did, declared two variables and checking their equality. So what this double equal to sign is doing, what is this? This double equal to sign is a comparison operator. Okay, it checks whether two numbers or two strings or two data types to be specific are equal or not. Okay, their values to be specific are equal or not. Okay, why I'm using the term values, you will learn later on the session. Okay, what if I do this y equals to 5? We are getting this as true. Okay, so this was about the comparison operator. Okay, now I told you about strings and about how to write a string and how to write a number. So const x equals to 20. Can some of you tell me what is 20 here? A number or a string? A string. Okay, yes. Cool. Very good. Yes is quite active today. Const x equals to 20. Others are also active. I'm just taking the name who's guessing the first one. Then const y equals to 20. What if we do console.log x equals to y? Before running, I want you all to just give the output. Should be false or true? False. False. Okay. So why not check ourselves? Let's just run it. Shit, it is getting true. So why is this happening? Why are we getting true? I knew it happens in JS. Very good, Anish. Huh. So this basically happens due to this double equal to signs. What this double equal to sign checks, it checks whether two values are equal or not. So here the value of x is 20, the value of y is 20. So they are equal, but their data type is not equal. Okay, this is something special about JS. So how to check if actually two numbers are equal or not? Okay, if you are doing something and one thing is string and one thing number you are saying that are equals, that will give you error in your program. Okay, so how to check if actually they are equal or not? We have to use triple equal to sign. Okay, what this triple equal to sign does, it checks whether the values are equal and whether their data types are equal or not. Okay, so just now we are getting the output as false, because yes, their values are equal, but first one is string and second one is number. Cool. Apart from this equal signs, we have this not equals to sign. Let's say just change this, x equals to 15, y equals to 20. So console.log x not equals to 5, not equals to y. What should be the output? So let's check. Yes, it's true. Why is it true? The statement says 15 is not equals to 20, which is true. 15 is not equals to 20. Okay. Similarly, in comparison operators, you can use not equal to check data types too. You can use x greater than equals to. Yeah, or x greater than y. All the types you can use, which we generally use in maths. Cool. Now, one more operator there is on strings. Like when you have to add two strings, let's say first string is COP, second string is what? S. Okay. And we do something like console.log x, sorry, x plus y. We are getting the output as cops. So this is a string operator. We are basically adding two strings, okay, of in technical language we are concatenating two strings, okay, x and y. X was cop, y was s. We just added them to cops. Okay, so we are done with almost all operators. We are left out with some logical operators. Okay, so there was this one chapter in your JE in physics where you must have used the AND gates or OR gates. What was its name? Can someone tell me the name of the chapter? If you still remember. Okay, semiconductors. Yeah, semiconductors was correct one. Akshat, okay, cool, very good. So you learned about the AND gate or OR gate. So what was the when did AND gate gives you output as true? Can someone tell me? Huh, when all the values are true, it gives it not both. All the values are true, then it gives us as true. Okay. And when does OR gives us true? Anyone true? Okay, Ayush was the first one. Okay. So similarly, we will use this. Let's say const x equals to 1, const y equals to 3, console dot log x and y. Okay. So console dot log x and y. So we are getting the output as 3 x or y. Yes. 3 1. So basically, when you write the binary representation, you will learn more why we are getting these values. Okay, so these are the same when you write the what these are the same what you use in semiconductor, the AND gate and OR gate. Okay, so just write down the binary representation and check. When you write 3, it's 1 1, and when write 1, it's basically 0 1. So first one will give you 1, second will give you 1. We get the output as 3. Okay, so let me get back to the slides. Share this tab instead. So this is one of the meme which I inserted. Okay. Huh, okay. This is the meme which I inserted. To compare two variables, you need two equivalent sign, but JavaScript says no, there's another. And as Shubhangi says, it's a stone Yoda. Okay. So a quick question for you all. A quick question will ask you. Okay. This tab instead. Const x equals to 5, const y equals to 0, console dot log x plus y. Okay, so you must have learned this amount of maths in your J times. So can you all just guess the output? Wait, little difference between 5 and 50. Was 50, Laksh 5. first ones. Okay, surprised to see such good reactions. I was expecting a total of 5, but you are already guessing 50. Okay, for those who can't guess why this is 50, because x and y were strings. Okay, so to get hold of these data types and where do we use it, like what is string, we have to learn string and integers. One more is the boolean. So in total, what are the types of data types? Okay, different data types. I am handing over this session to Ankur. He will tell you more about data types and all. Okay, over to you, Ankur.
Yeah, thanks, Divyansh, for such a wonderful explanation. Okay, so yeah, after learning what JavaScript is and what are variables and what are its operators, now we have created a great platform to learn what are data types, what are for loops, what are functions, what are ternary operators. So let's get started. Just check if my screen is visible. Is the screen visible?
It's visible.
Yeah, cool. So Divyansh, I can't see the screen, so just do the shout out for me. Anyone who guesses the answer first. Yeah, cool. So let's start, guys. So now you learned about data types. Okay, so since Divyansh declared strings and integers, so basically, what are data types, right? So data types are basically uh, an entity which holds different types of data. Okay, it can hold string, it can hold boolean, it can hold undefined, it can hold none. Let's say uh, I declare a variable called x, okay, and I just do console.log over here, okay. Any guesses what will be the answer? What will be the output?
Kalash says it would be 18.
I haven't declared anything, okay. So the answer over here would be undefined. Why undefined? Because I just declared variable, okay. I haven't declared the value to the variable. It is just a variable, and JavaScript takes if the variable is not assigned any value, JavaScript declares it as undefined and returns undefined. So now if I just do like x equals 10 and I do y equals 10, okay. Now if I do console.log y, can anyone guess what will be the output? Uh, Answers क्या आ रहा है?
10, 1000,
10.
10, 20, 10.
Yeah. The one with the 1010 is the correct one. So why 1010? ये question तो आया होगा सबको. So basically, what JavaScript does is whenever it detects a string, it converts a number into a string and then it concatenates it, and we know what concatenation means. Like if a string is strong, a dog, and another one is cat, it is going to be dog cat. That's the meaning of concatenation. And ये बात को याद रखना कि whenever concatenate an integer with a string, it is always going to convert an integer to a string and is going to concatenate that string, okay. Over here you can see the data type is number. Over here you can see the data type is string. Now there is another data type called as boolean. Okay, so this is called as boolean. Now let's check it now. If I console.log z, it is going to give me true. But this is wrong because Divyan said, and also the Yoda said that JavaScript has three equals equal sign in order to compare, right? So what equals equals does is it only compares the values and not the data types. What three equals does is it compares all the data types. So if I do it, it is going to give me false. Yeah. So make sure you never miss this and use this thing. Okay. Because JavaScript is not like a it is subjective language. Okay. So it is not much as objective as TypeScript and C++. So next thing is, since we learned about data type, now is strings. Okay, so we talked about strings a lot. Okay, so what is string basically, right? The string is a collection of arrays, collection of characters. Okay, let's say I have a string which has characters j, a, v till t. Okay, so this is a string, and when I just console.log When I just console.log the string, it is going to give me JavaScript. That's cool. Okay. Now, uh, one of my friends just came on our day and said that, hey, you declared a string JavaScript. Okay, cool. Now just tell me how many letters are there in it. Okay. So we are programmers, right? We are not dumb. Okay. We know how to do things logically. So there is an function of function of string called as length. What it does is calculates the length of the string. And when I do length over here, it will give me the length of the string, which is 10. So we have 10 letters over here. Okay. So the another thing is, let's say, uh, I want to convert JavaScript. I want to write JavaScript. Okay. But I declared a string JavaScript. I just want to print Java. Okay. So what I can do is I can use a method called as slice. What it does is it takes the starting index. Okay. Remember one thing, index is something that is an address of an element. Okay, so let's say it is JavaScript. Okay, over here, JavaScript. So let's say JNA over here. So address of this J is going to be 0 and address of this A is going to be 1. So 0 and 1, so it is going to start from 0. Okay, now what it does is it considers includes the first element, that is 0, and it excludes the fourth element. When we calculate it from fourth element, the fourth element is going to be s. Okay, so when I just console.log s1, it is going to print Java. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, now what I want to do is, let's say, there is another method called as substring. Okay, so which does the same job like slice and gives the same output. It is going to give me Java. Then the question might arise like, "Hmm, the output is same, भैया क्यों दो ही methods बार बार बता रहे हैं?" So the answer to this is, what if I do 0 over here and 4 over here? Any guesses what will happen? क्या आ रहे answers? Let me check.
AVAG. Don't say
AVAG.
fancy.
Okay,
Huh.
AVAG. Okay. Okay. So the funny, like it, the interesting thing about it is, now if I do it console.log, it is going to give me Java. So now question will come in
Yeah.
mind like, why Java? So the answer is simple. It sorts the indexes. It's even if we uh, inputted the indexes wrong, what it does is it sorts the indexes from in ascending order. So what it does, it takes the input as 4 and 0, but it says, hey, you are just inserting an element in the index which is greater than the second index. So what it does is it switches the index, prints the correct output. Okay. Now the same thing for slice. Okay. So what will slice given out? If I do it for slice, what will दिव्यांश बता दो.
AVAG.
EVAJ. Okay.
Java, Java also,
Hmm.
whatever the
Huh.
same.
Java.
One is Java.
The answer is going to be like really mind-boggling. It
Nothing.
is going to be an empty string.
Okay.
So what slice
Yes,
method
give the
does
correct
is,
answer.
yeah, cool, Yash, kudos, man. So what slice does is it identifies indexes, and if first index is greater than second index, what JavaScript does is it assigns the string default empty array. Okay, empty string. So at the end, it is going to give an empty string. So that's why substring is used in instead of slice methods. By mistakenly, let's say developers uh, um, replace the indexes. Like तुम्हें लिखना था 04, but you write it as 40. No, there is no problem in it. Substring will cover it. Now there's another function, another method called as substr. Okay. Now let's say I console.log it from -2 to 5. Okay. Now, some of you may say, why -2, right? You said that it is from 0. So, from basic maths and basic common sense, it is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3. There is no possibility that the number is going to be minus in negative. But what if I do console.log now? What will the result? Mm, okay, I just do it. I will get PT. Okay. So why PT? So what it does is it starts from negative. Okay. What negative means is it from here. The negative index means it starts from the end. So you can use substring over here as well. So there are these are the methods and functions of string. Okay. And there is another cool feature of string which I will show you now. Let's say I have declared a bunch of variables like Java, bunch of strings like JavaScript, Django, and all that stuff. We know that in actual practical example, we get a lot of variables. Like if you're there is something called as JSON data, which is data basically like Excel में जो होता है वैसे data होता है. So you get different data, right? And some in form, some letters may be in uppercase, some may be lowercase. What you want to do is I want to convert all the letters to uppercase. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to declare the string s1 and I'm going to use uppercase method. Okay, to uppercase. And when I just console.log it is going to give me uppercase uppercase letters. Okay, so and vice versa, like if we have uppercase letters it is going to convert it all into lowercase letters. Okay, so after strings there is another similar function, a similar data type called as array. Okay, so array is something that hold multiple values. A practical example of array, let's say an array is an hotel. Okay, and its elements are its rooms, room 1, room 2, room 3, and each element has its index. Okay, as I said in straight, and every index starts from 0. Okay, so let's say मैंने अगर एक array declare कर दिया marks. Okay, and I have declared marks 68, 91, 76, 97, 50. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to get the length, and the length function is similar as string. We can get the length easily. When I just console.log length, it is going to give me 5, which is true because I have five elements. Okay, so you will say that भैया हाँ तुम आपने यहाँ पे कोड पे तो दिखा दिया. What will be practical application? As I said, let's say a hotel has different rooms and some are booked and some are not booked, so you have might have data. So what you can do is using these methods and functions you can segregate the data, and you know that data is really valuable to us, and when you know how to sort data it is things become really easy. Okay, so let's say right now the elements are entered are in pretty uh, random manner like 68, 91, 76. What I want to do is I want to output an array in a ascending order. So what I can do is I'm just going to declare the array as sorted, and I'm going to use methods called sort. Okay, and what it does is if I console.log sort, console.log sorted, it is going to give me 58, 68, which is sorted, right? 50, 68 se chota hai. 68 is less than 76, and which is a great tool for us, right? Now there's another function called as pop. Okay, before pop I'm going to teach you what is push. Okay, so let's say I'm running a loop. I will tell you about loops, but let's say I'm running a loop for 50 times. Okay, and what I want to do is I want to add an element at every loop, at every time the loop runs. Okay, let's say loop runs first time, second time, third time, and at every single time I want to add a element 80. Okay, and I want to add 80 in every time the loop runs at the last index in the sense yahan pe. Okay, so what I can do is mark dot push 80, and when I just console.log marks, the answer is going to be 80. See, यहाँ पे नहीं था element, but now it is there. Similarly, we have something which inserts an element. So we have something which can remove the element. So there is called a method called as pop. Okay. So what it does is it removes the last element from an array. When I do this, it is going to remove, mm, let let's say, and just to clear the console for, yeah, then I do it again, it is going to delete 50, and which is obviously true, was it is going to remove the element from the last index. That's it. So after learning this, you might say ki array sikha diya, string sikha diya, and what is the difference between it, right? So तुम लोगों ने सबने notice किया होगा कि when I said the definition of array, I said it, definition of string, I said that string is the characters, but array is the collection of data types. You can hold any data type in array, but string only holds characters. So that this is the major difference between string and array. Now next comes JavaScript objects. Okay, why are we using objects? Because it can literally hold multiple values. It is like a container which has multiple values in it. And if you're if you know objects in JavaScript, you're the king. Like you can literally understand JavaScript easily and you can literally code very easily. I have an object over here, which object called as details. Okay, over here it is an array, and in every element of array I have an object over here. Let's say in first object I have Divyansh, name as Divyansh, and marks. Secondly Shubhangi, then mine, and then Cheems. You know the Cheems is pretty famous in our college. Okay, so what I want to do is I just want to get console. When I do console.log over here, what will happen? Mm, I will get all the data over here, okay, as it is. Now I want only the name of the first object, okay, first object. So what I can do is, if I do this and when I console.log this, can anyone tell me the output of it? Details.name. कुछ आ रहा है? Okay, cool. I will go.
All
Names, all
names.
the names,
क्या?
all the names.
All names, they are saying.
All the names. Okay, all the names. Let's see क्या होता है. Undefined आया. तो अब सब बोलेंगे why undefined, right? So the answer is, since I told you array है ये, okay. So array का first element is 0. So this is 0th element. This is first element. So if I want to get name of Divyansh over here, what I need to do is I need to insert over here details 0, which is the first element of an array. And then we are going to access the input value. We are going to access the name data type from that particular object. Now when I do this, it is going to give me Divyansh, which is true because like details dot name. So uh, maximum यहाँ पे गलती करते हैं लोग. Just be sure कि you are accessing the object which is at the particular index. Let's say I want to access the name of team, name, fourth element. So what I can do is I can use fourth element over insert fourth element. My bad, which is not a fourth element. Sorry, three होगा क्योंकि it starts from 0. It is going to even teams, and simultaneously मुझे अभी इसके सामने marks भी add करना है. So what I can do is details 4 dot marks. Okay, अभी मैं console dot log करूँगा तो I'll get 4 नहीं यार 3. When I console dot log it, it is going to give me marks name of it. Okay, so do you understand why it is important? With the help of single data club, first of all you are going to avoid all the junk of the code, avoiding all the declaration of data types. इतने सारे variables होते हैं, you can't store name 1, name 2, name 3, name 4, right? You have to, what you have done is like data types, you have reduced the data types. You have only declared subject, name, marks, and constant details. After that you can access literally everything over here. So the verse why the verse like is true, right? Ki if you know how to use objects well, you're the king of JavaScript. Okay, so make sure you learn objects over here. Practice कर लो, अच्छे से हो जाएंगे objects. Now the next important part is conditional statements, and in every program know how important is the conditional statements. Like if this condition is satisfied, we are going to do that. If this condition is not satisfying, we are going to do this, or else we are not going to do nothing. Like so, we have studied, right, if else loop. So this is the same in JavaScript as well. If else, I have declared a variable x equals 9, and yeah, when I do it, can anyone tell me the answer? The answer is quite simple. इस पे सभी आंसर कर देंगे. What will be the output? X is smaller, which is true because x is 9. X is not equal to 10. X is not greater than 10. So दो conditions तो रह गए. एक ही condition बचा.
Aditya Raj said x is smaller than 10.
Great. Okay. So this was the basics of loops. There is another thing, as Divyansh taught you, operators, right? So there is another kind of loop. It another kind of statement. It is not kind of statement. It is the mixture of operators. Okay. What it does is, let's say, when मैं इस पे x equals 9 declare, I've declared x equals 9, and then I'm testing x equals 10. Okay. So here comes the tricky part. Can anyone tell me what will the output over here? Like which is obvious of all. मैंने message लिखा है, but still, like if this is true, this part of statement is going to be executed. When I just console.log it, it is going to give me x is not equals to 10, which is true because x is 9. So इसको ध्यान रखना कि when this part is true, this statement is going to get executed, or else right side wala is going to get executed. Okay, so these are various
Ankur,
types of
1 second. They are asking if you can show the object details object which you written. Once again.
yeah.
Yes,
Oh
this one.
yeah,
Yeah, this one.
yeah, sure, I'll show
So
it.
this was all
uh,
objects.
I will come back to
Details is
you.
holding.
I will come back to the objects once I finish loop. Then they will understand it much better, in a much better way. I will come back to it.
Okay, 1 second. Vaishnavi, can you write in the chat box when is your quiz? We'll tell you when it will be. 5. Okay, okay. We will finish by 4:30 or 4:50, 4:45. Yeah.
Yeah.
Continue, Ankur.
So yeah, thank you, Divansh. So now the next part is functions, and you know functions are a really important part of any language. What a function is function is a piece of code which has instructions in it. Okay, so function is like what why we declare function, right? Function is declared in order to make the code much cleaner. Number one. Next, to avoid the declaration of variables, and third, to make sure that if let's say I have a tree over branch over here, right? Tree. Okay. Tree has branches. There's something like that, and like this, and this is a code over here. So let's say one of my branches get cut. What will happen is there's a blank space over here. So code will fail, right? The code will give error. But when we introduce functions over here, until and unless the function is related, all functions are different. Even if one function fails, it is much easier to debug that code rather than like when we don't declare function, his code is going to be messy and it is hard for us to declare, hard for us to debug, right? So over here we are going to make a basic calculator. So let's say I have two variables. I'm going to only use two numbers because it is just a small calculator. So first of all, I'm going to, like, we know calculator, like basic, it is not a scientific calculator, it's just a basic calculator which has addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Okay. What I want to do is I want the addition of multiplication of 10 and 20 and division of 30 and 20. When I console.log it, it is going to give me 201. So over here, what I did is I use this function, I use this function, I use this function. And the fun fact is that you can pass functions in functions. Like you can, if I have function over here, I can use another function and pass into that function. So this we can, like, we can do many things with the help of that. Okay. If function was not here, what would we have done is like, हम ऐसा करते बैठते ना x plus y, then we are going to use the individual arithmetic, which is, but right now it is much easier. You just have to insert inputs over here, that's it. It is just like a ready product over here. You just have to get the input and you're going to get the output. Okay, now this next part is loops. Okay, so loops are really important in any programming language, as we know. Why loops are important? uh, you can't test a code, you can't run a particular statement without loops, right? Many times you can't just copy paste it, copy paste it, copy paste it, copy paste it, right? You need loops. Why loops? Let's say I want until I is 10, until a condition is satisfied, we want to do but perform that statement. You will learn better when I do this example. Over here I have an array. We know array, right? Abhi sikhaya hai. It's like coffee, tea, milk, water, other than these. Now we have length over here, as we know the length function of array. Now there is some for loop. Okay, we all know what, we all are familiar with for loop. What inputs we need is, what parameters we need is, first of all, I is equals to 0. Why I is equals to 0? As I told you, every array starts from index 0. So we need to access first element, then we are going to uh, iterate it. What iteration mean is, I plus plus. You might know now, Divyan said it, right? I plus plus. I plus plus is basically I equals I plus 1. So we have to add 1 after every loop, after every time the loop is executed. I is less than length. Length over here is 5. So, and I plus plus over here. Okay. So what this means is, uh, तुम कोड चलाओ, I को बढ़ाओ, and I को तब तक बढ़ाओ तब तक I is less than n. Okay. So जब तक ये कोड चलेगा, मतलब जब तक ये कंडीशन सेटिस्फाई होगा, we are going to get execute this function. Okay, we are going to execute this statement. Now when I do console.log, what will be the output? Any guesses? Are kuch guesses, Divyansh?
And yes, we have to show them for once. All elements except last. One guess is from all
Okay,
elements
all
except last.
elements except last. Okay.
Yeah.
ठीक है. When I console.log, it is going to give me
Uh,
all elements.
Amir
So I
says
will
the
tell you.
right.
Yeah, array.
It's all
Great,
elements.
Amir. So what happened is, like, first statement is executed. I is going to be 0. Next time, I is plus plus. I is going to iterate over here. I is going to be 1. Next time, again I is going to be executed. I is going to be 2. Next time it is going to be 3. Next time it's going to be 4. But it can't be 5. Why it can't be 5? Because length is 5, and we have to run the loop until I is less than 5. If I is greater than 5, loop is not going to be executed. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is true. But this is 0th element. This is 1th, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Just make sure the first element of an array starts from 0th element. Okay. This is another type of same for loop, but syntax is different. Over here, you don't need to calculate length or all that stuff. What you need to do is just for I in array, declared array, and it will automatically iterate the element after every loop. When I do the same thing, it is going to give me the same output, which is true. Because uh, uh, if you have attended Python workshop, we have similar kind of things over there, similar kind of syntax for I in declared variable, declared string, declared array. Okay, so this is I in for in. The next one is for off. Okay, what for off does is, uh, you might have noticed that, uh, let's say मैं example के through ही बताता हूँ. Let's say what will be the output now. Over here, if I do this, What will the output now? Any guesses over there? Okay, I'll run the code. It is going to
We
give
are
me
getting
undefined.
error. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, cool. Ishan.
yeah. Great, Ishan. Great.
Sorry,
So it
Ishat.
is
Okay.
Ishat. So it is give me undefined. It is going to give me undefined. Why undefined? Over here it was different. Over here it was the address of an array. Address. What do you 1, 2, 3, 4? These are not the elements. Or of what it does is it is an element. I is just an element. It is not an address. It is an element. Now when I do over here, let me clear the console again. Yeah. s- Wait a second. Did I guess something? Okay, I'll come back to it later. I think my console is giving me some problem. Okay. Next one is while loop. Okay. So it is same like for, but it has large. It has uh, greater time complexity than for. What time is like? It takes much more uh, time to execute than for loop. The syntax is going to be a little different over here. In while we have to just insert a statement over here which is I less than n, a single statement. Then we have to iterate it over here, and let me declare over here I equals 0. Because why am I declaring it over here? If I declare it over here, what is going to happen is like after every iteration I is going to be 0, and the loop will be an infinite loop. I will show you what an infinite loop is. There's something fishy in it. Wait a minute. Okay, I'll write it. While I less than 5, I'm going to console.log every element of an array, and then I'm going to just print it. Okay, I think console is going to.
Some issue from your end in compiler.
Yeah, just
Uh,
I'll choose the
we can
compiler.
hold while,
I'll choose the
we can hold
compiler.
while loops for now, I guess.
Yeah, I got it. It ran. Yeah,
Yeah, good.
cool. So it gave me the same output. The another syntax over here, another type of function is a loop is called as do while loop. Okay, so what it does is now do while loop is like syntax is little bit different, but the result is same. It is we are going to do this thing which is console.log every element of an array, and then we are going to increase array index by 1 till I is less than 5. When I console.log it again, it is going to give me all the elements, which is true. Okay. Now, since I skipped that part, which is for I of, when I do it again, and let me just comment it out. Okay, cool. So before it, my console was giving some error, I guess. There was. Now, you got it like, make sure for of is different. For of, you don't need to console.log array, every element of array like this. In for of, I is itself an element, not an address of it. So now, since we dropped that objects for a section, now I'm going to resume it again. Let's say Now we are going to make it more interesting. Okay, really interesting. What I want to do is I have data of six students, three students. Okay, what I want to do is I want to print all. I just want to print the name of name of all the students, and in front of it I want to print marks over here. What I can do is I can use loop over here for let I equals 0, we know, then I less than details dot length, which is the uh, function of array, and we are going to iterate it I plus plus, and we are going to end the loop over here. When I console.log it, I'm going to get over here, yeah, 5 times it is going to print this, because over here I haven't inserted 3. So it is even if I is going to get iterated, we are just use details 3, which is the last element. Now if I do I over here, it is going to give me every student's name and marks over here. So you can sort it like this. Can you tell me where was the exactly the doubt over in the details objects section?
They just wanted to show like how objects are written. It was clear
Okay,
at the
okay.
time.
Let me just okay. Let me just declare an object over here. Constant JS equals, let's say name is going to be JavaScript, and just I'm going to input the names over here. I'm going to declare an array first of all, uh, and different type of name. There is another name JavaScript. Okay, so this is it. This is the array over here. This is an object. Object syntax is like this. Okay, and over here you have different values over here. This is an object, and when I just iterate it, and just there is only one variable, right? There is no marks over here. So details dot marks or is going to give me error, and over here it is array JS. Okay, so JS I. Now when I console.log it, details. Sorry, my bad. JS. Let me clear the console. When I console.log it, it is going to give me all the objects, all the elements which are in a particular object. Okay, this is it. This was the section for objects. Now we have covered all the basics of data type, basic data types, loops, functions, and all the basics of JavaScript. And now comes the practically, and there is a real essence of JavaScript is from DOM. Okay, there is something called as DOM manipulation, and you will these all things are going to be required in DOM manipulation, and you are to make a web app now. Shubhangi will guide you through that, and I would hand it over to Shubhangi now.
1 second. There's one little announcement types like you all know we are going towards the web app. Okay, so now the theoretical stuff is over. Just open your eyes if you feel slept or what. Okay, now we will apply what we have learned. Okay, and also after the end we will give you an assignment type, a fun assignment which is not a boring assignment. And whenever we will recruit into cops 1 month or 2 months later, these assignment will consider. Okay, we will consider your submission assignment. Not perfect. You don't have to really do like all the steps in assignment. Just do something. You can whatever. Okay. So Shubhangi will be using this repo. I'm pasting once again, and I'm giving you like 1 minute time to just whatever branch you are in, just drop in a message in your freshers group or in your branch group. Okay, that the web app is going to start now. The practical application is going to start. You can join in even now. Okay, just go and fork this repo. Apart from this, Shubhangi will do the project. You will have 2 projects ready, which you can even write in a resume. Okay, so waiting like for 30 seconds or 1 minute, then we can begin with the practical application. Over to you, Shubhangi.
I guess you can start at 4:30. Let's give them a minute to clone it and set up the environment. For the other assignments for Python and etc., you can find them in the Discord server's resources channel of Cops Insights. Have to fork the repository, the link with the branch dropped, and clone it. How do you clone it? You just open the terminal, you write in git clone and paste the URL, which you'll get from the green button in the repository that says clone or code, I guess. I'll demonstrate to you just a second. I'll share my screen. Is my screen visible?
It's visible.
Cool. So you must have got a link to a repository. This is actually mine. That was Divyansh's repository, which is a fork of this repository. So what you do is you click on this button code, you copy this URL, you open your terminal, right? And then you write in git clone, paste this URL and hit enter. And that's it. All the files would be there on your system. And we actually assume attended the Git and GitHub session that was organized by Cops lately. If you haven't, just don't worry. The recording is there on YouTube, and even you can find the recording of basics of Git and GitHub on YouTube. So I think I can start.
You can.
So let's get started with something that is really, really interesting that lies at the heart of web development. That this is the reason why you actually learn JavaScript. DOM manipulation, right? So
Okay,
we
okay.
just mentioned.
1 minute, Shubhangi.
Huh,
1 minute. Sorry to interrupt. Uh, there's one question to how to fork it. Like, can you repeat if
right,
you
I'll just
can?
I'll
How to
just
fork it and then clone?
I'll just show you. See, what you do is you go on the repository, you click on this button here which says fork, you fork it, right? And then you go to the forked repository, you'll find it under your profile. You go to your profile, you'll find your under your repositories. Then you click on this button, copy the URL, open the terminal. I think I cannot open the terminal. My laptop might just give in if I open the terminal right now. You open the terminal, you write in git clone and just a second, I might right. So what you do is you write in git clone and paste the URL. My terminal isn't working properly right now. uh, I think that's pretty much clear to you all. Can I get started? Okay. So we again and again mentioned that how crucial JavaScript is to your web pages, how crucial, what crucial role it plays. So you must have got curiosity how JavaScript actually does it. Because we all know HTML and CSS are the skeleton of a web page or a website. JavaScript adds the soul to it. How it does that? It is because of DOM manipulation. DOM manipulation is basically a process. Whenever you load a web page or whenever you load the browser, your browser creates a DOM, which stands for Document Object Model, which is basically a fancy name for an API. Now, a small task for you all. Let's see who can get it first. Give them a shout out from my side, Divyansh, if you can. Write down the full form of API. What does API stands for? And APIs are pretty cool, right? You can even find a recording of a workshop API 101 that was conducted under COPS lately. You can find it on our YouTube channel. So, did anyone get the full form of API?
We got
Not yet.
one from Achit. It's app programming interface. Okay. Shreya says it's application interface. Dhruv got the correct application programming interface.
Yeah,
Good going,
very
bro.
good.
Right. So DOM is basically a fancy name for an API. Let's get back to the slides now. And the DOM is basically how you manipulate the web page. Right. The DOM represents an HTML document as a tree of nodes and provides the functions that you can add, remove, and modify. And one thing I want you to remember here is DOM is a cross-platform independent way. It is a language independent way. So you can use practically any language that can help you manipulate the DOM. Here we are using JavaScript because it's pretty easy with JavaScript. Now that I mentioned a tree of nodes, let's look at this. So this is a meme that actually introduces you to the whole what a DOM tree looks like. So this is the DOM that we all know. Put a thumbs up if you identify Dominic Toretto from Fast and the Furious series. This is the DOM that we are going to study. You can see it's a document which has a root element, HTML, which again has child elements. Now, keep an eye out on the terms that I'm using here, child elements and a parent element. One more thing I want you to remember is how the attributes lie at the same level as the elements. Right, and you must be wondering, I just mentioned that a DOM tree is a tree of nodes, but here I've written element. What is the difference between a node and an element? Node is practically anything that is present on the entire this text. These are all nodes. Element is a type of node. Element is basically the generic HTML tags that we use. These are known as elements. Right. A simple example and a very short quiz for you all. You saw the DOM tree structure that I just presented to you and explained to you. I want you to write in the chat what would be when you'll create the DOM tree structure for this particular very simple HTML page. What would be the root element of it? Can anyone answer that in the chat box?
I will tell you when we get an answer.
Uh,
HTML. HTML.
yes,
It's Bhav says
yes.
HTML.
Is the correct answer. It would be the root element. Another question, while creating the DOM tree of this particular code, would title and body come under come as the same child element of a particular parent element? I mean, would they be on the same level of the DOM tree? Title and body. Answer it in a
No.
yes or a no.
Deepshika says no.
Yes, Deepika, that's correct. I think you have a hold of what a DOM tree is, how it looks, and everything. So, why exactly do we need to learn it? So keep an eye for this meme. Once you work with JavaScript enough, just come back to it and remember that we don't manipulate the DOM actually manipulates us. Let's see, why do we need it? So it's only when you know how to manipulate the DOM that you can make the best of JavaScript. Whenever you learn a new programming language, whenever you learn a new technique or technology in software development, you should make an aim to make the most out of it. For JavaScript, when you know DOM manipulation, you'll make the most out of it. You can add, remove, change the content of HTML. A simple example of this could be whenever you go on websites. So you must have seen on many websites, they give you a choice to change from one language to another. For example, English to Hindi, just by clicking a simple button. How does that work? You change the entire content of a website by clicking on simple buttons. This is possible because of DOM manipulation. Changing the styling of certain elements when certain event occurs. A very generic example could be switching between light mode and dark mode on websites. Isn't that interesting? With a simple click of a button, you can change the entire styling of every element that is present on that website. That is possible due to DOM manipulation. You can add and delete HTML elements. We'll see an example of all this with the web page that we're going to create now. So let's get into something that you all have been waiting for. Let's get into RVS Code and code it all together. So on the repository cloned, you can see an HTML file, a CSS file, and a JavaScript file. Your JavaScript file doesn't look remotely like this. I've added comments and code snippets so that it becomes easy for you to understand. First of all, let's look at HTML file. So you see, we have the generic HTML tags, we have HTML, we have head, we have the body, and it good practice to add your style sheet before ending the hit tag, right? And how do you add the JavaScript file to your HTML? You actually, it's a good practice to add the script file just before ending the body tag. You have the script tag here, which specifies the path of JavaScript file you'll be using. Again, keep an eye out for the classes that I've added here, class and ID, right? Where do we use it? So classes are basically used while styling. So CSS file, the file that is responsible for beautifying your entire website. Don't get overwhelmed by these hundreds of lines of code. Ki itna sara code hai, we don't know what it means. If you look at it, it's pretty self-explanatory. You see margin, you use font family, you use height, pretty self-explanatory terms, right? So this, and you can see that I said, why do we specify the class names? The class names are used while styling the elements. You add a dot, you write the class name, and you add the styling that you want to add to that particular element. Again, keep the term that I'm using here, element. Now let's move to something that we have all been waiting for, script.js. Right. Now, let us look at the skeleton that we have from the code that I just showed you. We have this. So this is a to-do web app that we'll be coding. Let me just write. Let me write code. I add it. Nothing happens because it doesn't have the soul in it. It doesn't have the JavaScript in it. Right. So let's code the JavaScript. Let's add a little bit of soul to our web page. First of all, you just learned throughout the workshop how to declare variables. Let's declare some handy variables that we'll be using throughout this web app. We'll declare a variable to do form, and I just told you how cool DOM manipulation is. See, this is actually DOM manipulation, right? Let's take the forms ID from forms class name from here, copy it, and add it here. See, again, I am using dot here, and similarly, two other variables have been declared here. I'm using dot here and I'm not using dot here because input is an element. This is a class. See, this is why I told you to keep an eye out for the term element. Now, you also see how cool JavaScript is. It is pretty literal language. Just go through the syntax and you can tell what is happening. For example, on this to-do form, I've added this method add event listener. On submitting the form, I invoke this particular function add to do. Pretty literally, you can interpret this. So let's complete the function here, which is add to do. Now, whenever you code something, the first thing you should do is think about the edge cases, whatever edge cases that can occur. In this particular web app that I'll be creating, one edge case that can occur is if the user enters nothing and still hits enter and it gets added as a task. I wouldn't want it to happen, right? So what I do is I use the conditional statements about which you just learned and add a condition so that whenever the user doesn't enter anything, I alert it, no, you need to enter something. How I'll do that? I a variable that I just declared to do input dot. Now see value. See, whenever again I would want you to install IntelliSense here. I've installed an IntelliSense that actually tells me that input is a property of the HTML input element that I just manipulated using this variable to do input. Right. Let's see if the input is null. If it is nothing, I want it to alert me to enter something. Let's save it and check if it works. I'll enter nothing. Add. It'll give me an alert. Key, no, you need to enter something. Right. So this is how you cover all the edge cases. Next thing, again, you need to, if the user enters something, I wanted to add it to the to-do. So how do I do it? I again declare some variable here, and I use the method here, document dot create element, so that I can actually manipulate this entire element with the JavaScript that I'll be using here. Similarly, for other elements like button, input, and span, I've created these elements or named as to do title, editable input, edit button, save button, etc. Another tip that we'd like to give you is keep your variable names pretty self-explanatory, because after a few years, when you look at your code, you shouldn't be like, "Ye maine kya kar diya?" You should be like, "Huh, I understand this because the variables are named like that." So do not just name your variables A, B, C, D, and stuff. Put a little bit of effort into it and name them something which becomes handy later. Let's also let's use this another method. So I just told you you can actually change the styling of the elements by JavaScript. How does one do that? So I just showed you ki in CSS file you can just mention a class name using dot class name and add some styling. Now essentially what you need to do is, if you want to change the styling of a certain element, add that certain stylings class into that element's class name. Pretty simple. How does JavaScript enable that? It gives you this method called classlist.add, in which you can add the styles of, right? Add the semicolon. Not necessary again. Similarly, in which you've done nothing but added the class names so that the styling is so that the elements kind of look beautiful. And comment this part here. Now also I again told you ki there is a parent element in HTML, and then there are children, there are its children's, the child elements. So whenever I'd want to add a to do here, a task here, what I would want to give the user an option or a button to edit and delete it. Right? What would the edit and delete buttons be? They would be the child elements of that particular list element that would be created while adding the task. So if I want it, how does JavaScript enable that? It gives me this, again, this is again DOM manipulation. What you do is you use append child, pretty self-explanatory name, right? And I wanted to append to do title to it, right? Similarly, I've appended all these things to these particular variables or constants that I just declared above. Pretty handy stuff, right? Now this is the function. Now this is actually known as the fat arrow function. You are in a hurry, you don't want to go through the the intricacies of declaring a particular function, adding parameters, and writing the return statement and stuff. What you do, JavaScript is so cool, it provides you this fat arrow function. You can just just write it down you want to invoke while this function is or this particular thing is done. This is mostly used while adding on click function, or the function that would be invoked when you click a particular button. Let's see another cool thing about JavaScript. It actually allows you to set a timeout. This timeout is basically 100 milliseconds. Right? After 100 milliseconds, this particular thing that is invoked here on this line would happen. Right? So this is where we have completed the add to do function here. Let's look at other things. So this is again a similar function. I'll not waste your time by telling about it again and again. Let's move to something that will come very handy to you while doing the assignment, which is writing a function. Now here I want to write a function that actually saves the to do from the list to the list, to the local storage, right? Now for this I'll use let. Why I'm using let? Because later on you'll see I'll change the values of this a variable to do's here. And then again, like, I have an edge case here as well. What if the local storage has no to do's? What am I going to do? For that, the if else block here, add the condition, right? The condition would be uh, local storage dot get item, and item name is actually to do's, right? If it is equals to null, what am I gonna do? I'll just use the to do's as an shit, as an empty array. Else, if there are some to do's like for the local storage, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get those items first of all. Local storage dot get item, to do's. And what am I going to do is I'm going to parse it using the parse method of JSON. Another quick task for you all, like write down the full form of JSON if you can find. Pretty handy stuff if you are into, furthering yourself into web development. JSON is something you'll just come across again now and then. After this if else stuff, what I'd want to do is I'd want to push. See, you just learned the push method while right. So we're going to use that here. Put the value, simple stuff. And at the end, I'd like to update the local storage with the entire to dos that I just got one from the user as well. And I'm going to use the stringify method. Right, I had to add a comma here. Stringify the to dos. Now you must be thinking what stringify is. So stringify method converts the JavaScript object. You just learned about object, right? Object into a JSON string, right? And working with JSON is pretty easy and pretty simple stuff. So I think we have the code completed here. Let's save this and test it if it works. What should I add? Attend the session. Add it. See, it gets added. Next, I want to attend. I since session is about to get over, I'll just change or correct the grammar. Attended the session. Save it. Done with the session. Delete it. Pretty handy stuff, right? And pretty interesting. Using all the concept that we just told you during the workshop, you actually coded this entire to-do web app, right? Nothing so complex. And similarly, you just got a hold of it and it's pretty interesting, right? So now you must be like all about ki I should practice JavaScript. For that, we have created an assignment about which we'll tell you soon. Right. So you know about JavaScript, got a syntax, know about the operators, know about variables, know about functions, conditional statements, and even DOM manipulation. What to do next? First of all, we'd want you to read more about JavaScript from here, right? Get passionate about it. Next, once you're done reading and you want to get your hands dirty with JavaScript, practice it via projects like these. We've added a link of, I think there are some like 30, 40 games, web apps, simple web apps, just like the TODO app that I just showed you, which you can make, share them to your friends, just flex your JavaScript skills, and even add them to your resume. Next, since JavaScript is just another technology you'll be using, what as programmers we expect you to do is stay updated about the latest technologies, latest happenings that are happening in the world of web development or anything you're into. Subscribe to newsletters that actually keep you updated. I personally recommend JavaScript Weekly. It just drops by in your mail once in a week and tells you all about the world of web development or all other development things that have happened throughout the week. And some articles of Free Code Camp are also pretty interesting. Once you're comfortable with JavaScript, we want you to get to frameworks, all those fancy names, right? Like React and Vue and etc. And also just get yourself into some JavaScript technologies like Node.js. Working with Node.js is a hell of a ride and you'd absolutely love it. And finally, have fun. Do not treat it just like an assignment or just like other studies, because it's a pretty cool language. You just saw, right? So do cool stuff with it. And about the assignment, we all love playing cards and we have prepared assignment for you. It's not a boring assignment. We know you've had your midterms and you have had, pretty pretty much boring assignments till now. So this is a pretty interesting assignment in which you'll create functions, you'll declare variables, you'll use the conditional statements, everything that we have told you. You can find the assignment here. I've added the link here. Fork it, clone it, and work on it. We've added the instructions in the README. You can go through those. Now, we all know that the things are fresh in your mind. You must be like, I don't have any doubts now and all. But what if you have doubts? What is solving the assignment? First of all, go through the resources once again. You make Google and Stack Overflow your best friend. In case these don't help, you're always there for you on Discord or WhatsApp. Reach out to us, right? And also, since it's an assignment and we all know how assignments work, just don't control C and control V your way out of it, if you know what I mean. We'd check plagiarism and you'd be disqualified if you just plagiarize the code from somewhere else. Find the complete to do web app here. I'll just push all the changes that I've done and you can find it in the link. Thank you for listening. And when we'll share the slide, you can find a feedback form here. Just fill it. Let us know if it was good, if it was bad, some improvements we could do, so that we can bring to you more sessions like these in somehow better way. And that's it for introduction to JavaScript. I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Shubhangi, for such a great session. Thank you everyone. Actually, मतलब everyone who is up to now, you made so far. So if I had to conclude all this, so you have two tasks. First one, you have to complete the to-do list. This will not be evaluated. This is for you to get a grasp of JavaScript. Okay, you can get my repo, which is a fork of Shubhangi's repo. You can complete the code there. Links is also given to you. That is Shubhangi's repo. She will push the code. Secondly, the thing which will get evaluated is this assignment, which we will find in the slides, and we will also uh, announce this assignment on Discord. Okay. Okay. So it was fun interacting with you all. Let's conclude. Ankur, you are
Yes.
muted if you
And
are saying something.
please fill the feedback form.
Yeah, I
We'll
was
share the
saying the
links
same.
with you.
Please fill
And
the
please
feedback
fill
form.
it.
I'm giving you the link once again. It will take you on
Give
30
them the
seconds.
link.
Please fill the feedback form so that we can improve next time.
And that's it for today, I guess.
Okay. Till
Thank you
then,
so much,
follow
guys,
up.
for
Stay
being.
tuned for the next session.
Yes, we have many interesting languages coming up, and we'd want you all to learn those. Make the most out of these sessions that we're providing you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.